Meeting to order. The Board of Leavenworth County Commissioners. I'd like to invite everyone to stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to start with a moment of silence. I'd like to ask everyone to remember Becky Matzeder. Her mother passed away. The lady that usually sits there. Remember them in prayer. Roll call, start with Commissioner Stevens.
Here.
Commissioner Shimke.
Here.
And Commissioner Smith is present. Commissioner Cos.
Here.
And Commissioner Culberson.
Here.
For the record, all commissioners are present. I'd like to open up the public comment portion of our meeting. Anyone from the public wishing to speak, please come forward and state your name. Seeing none, we'll close public comment and move on to administrative business. Mr. Lawfrey, is there any administrative business?
Just a reminder of next week's schedule is a little different. The 30th will be our meeting, Monday. Tomorrow and Wednesday, the courthouse will be closed. The primary court county offices will be closed for the holiday as well.
And reopen on the 26th.
26th.
All
And
right.
remind again that the treasurer's office is closed.
Treasurer's
on the
office.
31st.
Yeah, the treasurer's office will be closed on the 31st for business. They'll be in there doing end-of-year closeout stuff.
All right, so it'll be next Monday. We'll be here. With no other administrative business, we'll move on to the consent agendas. Commissioners, got any questions or concern on any items with the consent agenda?
Nope.
Then I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion, we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the consent agenda and voting?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Now on the appointment of the Mark Transportation, well, this would be a different deal than what we were discussing last week about board of directors.
Yeah, no, this is just for certain committees.
Right.
Because of some of the change in our personnel, we had to reappoint people. You have to formally approve that.
Okay. Now, I probably should have brought this up in administrative business. I apologize. But we still have an open seat on the board of directors at the Mid-America Regional Council. I know you're doing workforce, but
I would gladly trade that for a Mark position.
I'll do workforce.
okay.
I'll do workforce.
All
I
right.
just need to know what it is or when it is.
Well, a lot of times it's by phone.
Mm-hmm.
Just
A
let
lot
me
of
know
times you
when.
don't have to go to the meeting. They do the
Yeah.
telephone conference.
Okay.
I mean, that's not every time. But
Mm-hmm.
No, I can trade that off.
So does
Okay.
anybody else want to wrestle Commissioner Culberson for a seat on the Mark Board of Directors?
There'll be no wrestling here.
Okay,
You do have to make a motion.
yeah. So I'll entertain a motion to approve Commissioner Jeff Culberson to represent Leavenworth County on the Board of Directors of Mid-America Regional Council.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Voting?
Aye.
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 So that, we have 2 seats on the board. I currently sit on it, and since Commissioner Holland left, former Commissioner Holland left, we still have a seat. He served on the workforce and the board of directors, so, and right now I'm serving on budget and personnel and board of directors, so. We'll get our Leavenworth County represented, and Vernon Fields always goes to city council Baser. He's always there, and he announces I'm representing city of Baser and Leavenworth County. So we basically have 3 seats on there. So anyways, with that being taken care of, do we need to go ahead and do a motion, or do we need to open up public hearing on this? Let's go ahead and open up the public hearing.
Yep.
I'll entertain a motion to open up, to go out of regular session and go into a public hearing for the consideration of budget amendments.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Voting.
Aye.
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 All right.
At the end of each year, we do budget amendments for any funds that have spent over their proposed budget for that year. We have no levied funds that have to be amended. What we're amending are the fee funds. The first one we have is the clerk tech fund. That money is received actually through the Register of Deeds. It's 50 cents for each instrument that is recorded, and that's the way that fund receives their money. The other is the tech fund. That money is received the same way there. We put a small budget amount in there usually each year, but as expenses come in, we try to use these two funds more particularly instead of the levied funds, because actually it saves the taxpayer some money. For instance, we pay for the tax statements to be printed and mailed. We pay for some training for this. I went ahead this year and paid for, through the Secretary of State's office, the renewal on our Elvis tokens, which is my election tokens. That was about $17,000 or $18,000. So each expenditure that we make out of there actually does save the taxpayers money towards the levied funds. So we're asking for a budget amendment for the clerk fund and the tech fund. The other is Special Parks and Recreation. This fund, the money is received through distributions from the state of Kansas. It is where you have paid for the American Legion baseball team. We put money towards Easton Parks and Recreation Fund. You have paid for some of the private rec teams. For instance, I think there was a soccer team or a track team, a football team. And so we did go over what we budgeted for that. So we're asking for a budget amendment in the Special Parks and Rec. The other two funds that are part of the budget amendment is the 2006 10-year sales tax and the 20-year sales tax. The 10-year sales tax, the reason we're amending that budget is this is the fund that we paid for the resurfacing of County Road 1. We had originally budgeted, I believe, $700,000 for the resurfacing. That bid did come in at $1 million. And so there was some extra expenditures that we did not anticipate. The other is the 20-year sales tax. With the additional projects of some of the participatory road, we did spend more, and all that kind of depends. We usually do amend that each year, because the commission throughout the year decides different projects that they may want that sales tax to expend towards. So those are the funds that we're asking for a budget amendment. All of your levied funds all came in under budget, which was very good. Even Road and Bridge came way under, even considering the tornado cleanup that they had to help with. So it was actually really, all the departments did a great job.
Yeah.
They
Like
they
I
really
said,
did.
I'm shocked Road and Bridge made it with the winter we had last year and then the tornado and then,
But Jan, I was gonna ask, how are we tracking, excuse me, to the point of, I think maybe of our planned maintenance, we got to 60 or 70%, if memory serves. I can't remember exactly what Vince had reported. So, we had budgeted 100% of that maintenance. We got only a percentage of it completed. So that's a carry forward line item because those funds didn't get allocated?
Well,
Yeah,
that's,
they go to the cash carryover.
yeah, it will go to the cash carryover. And the other thing is some of those funds probably will be expended in the start of 2020, and we very likely will have to do a budget amendment with Road and Bridge next year. Because any of those unexpended funds we can put towards a project that the board has approved to proceed with.
and did the RIF money get put back in Kickapoo Township that shouldn't have been taken out?
We will be doing this week some journal entries, correcting the RIF and TIF. Some of the RIF and TIF funds will be even expended, and we will journal entry some money back to the sales tax. I realize that the board would like to go ahead and expend as many of the RIF and TIF funds towards appropriate expenses for any of the ongoing projects. And that also saves quite a bit of taxpayer dollars. Because some of those RIF and TIF funds have really probably exceeded some of the goals that the commission has in place for the usage of those.
Well, there was quite a bit of that sitting down there that should have been put on the roads.
So we will try to, I know Lauren is working very hard to expend those, but you still have to expend them on appropriate expenses.
Right. As long as they're on the road. That benefits everyone.
That's right.
So Janet, in the clerk fund and the treasurer tech fund, there were enough dollars in the associated department. It was more so the allocation, what we were trying to use associated with those fees or that income, our expense we outpaced what that income was, what that revenue was projected at.
Absolutely, Chad. Each one of these funds have plenty of money. It was just budget authority.
Okay.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on this matter is welcome to come to the podium, state your name and your concerns. Okay. And when we close this public hearing, are we going to need a motion on each one of these?
Nope,
Can we
you
just do
just-
a motion to amend the budgets? as
Just
presented?
one motion to approve the amended budget for the county funds.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion if there's no further discussion. Mr. Van Paries?
Mr. Chairman, just for the record, would you officially declare the public hearing closed?
You close it.
Well, yeah, I was going to entertain a motion to close it.
Okay.
So if there's no further discussion, entertain a motion to close the public hearing on the budget amendments.
So moved.
Voting?
Aye.
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 Aye. We've returned to regular session. I'll entertain a motion to approve the 2019 budget amendments as presented by the county clerk.
I move to approve the 2019 amendments as presented by the county clerk.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the budget amendments? Seeing none, voting?
Aye.
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 Carried.
Thank you for all your hard work on that.
Oh, thank you, guys. I appreciate that.
Budgets and elections.
Yeah, well done.
Yes.
Thank you.
Being we have elections every fall now.
Yep. So. All right, I will leave these to be signed. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry
Merry
Christmas.
And Happy New Year.
You
And
too.
Happy New Year.
oh, we'll see you in the parking
And
lot.
thanks for, thank you for Debbie coming in to fill in for Becky today.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I guess, thank you, Debbie. You're welcome. All right. We have anything else for the board at this time? Anybody have anything to report on?
Went to Tonganoxie City Council and went to their legislative thing, and then also had the town hall, had 30-some people there. Dan was there. It was a good time. Got a lot of information from people on their thinking.
Yeah.
So it was good, and I did have, this morning I listened to the Wall Street Journal report, and they were talking about the federal budget. The federal budget, revenues that have come in from the tax cuts is 4% increase, but unfortunately, the federal government's gonna spend 8% more. And I think that could be reflected on what we do here, you know, when a lot of money comes in, we're gonna have to be very careful this next year to make sure that we are frugal with that money.
Well, I think we are.
Well, I think the taxpayers.
Well,
We don't have that printing
and
press.
as we discussed in our meeting on Tuesday, at least we can make sure that any funds are allocated and spent in Leavenworth County
Yeah.
versus at the state or federal level. So that being a major difference, I think.
Okay.
Good point, Chad.
Chad, do you have anything to report on?
Just a couple of things. I had a good meeting last week with Tim Vandal at the City of Lansing. So we were talking about a number of, Lansing projects and items, one of which is making sure that we do our best to coordinate DeSoto and the Eisenhower work to hopefully cause residents as little pain as possible, knowing that the pain is going to be great. And unfortunately, like many things, it has to get worse before it can get better. But we'll obviously do our best to work as closely as possible.
Right.
The one thing I had was just kind of a carryover on the budget discussion, and as much as I know some love work sessions, I think it would be good for us to have some conversation relative to goals instead of just staying within budget. Depending on the department, those goals can look very different. I don't think it's our job to create those goals. I think it should be strategically done with the department heads, but when you think about customer satisfaction, you think about first call resolution, you think about what we can do to decrease spending if we can get, and I think everybody does a great job, but if we can get even more creative and strategic, maybe that does make it easier for us to lower the mill and do so within our current means. But just I think while we're thinking about 2020, I think goals are an important thing for all of us to think about, both personally, professionally. So I would challenge everybody to do that, and if we could maybe have a work session. I don't know the best way to go about that, Mark, but I think while we set budgets and try to obviously spend within them, I think goals are obviously a critical part to success too, so.
Goals are important, but when somebody keeps bringing donuts every week, it makes the goals a little more difficult.
Fair enough. Point taken.
Bingo.
Well,
Don't set unrealistic goals.
That's right.
as he had a potluck, didn't he? But, no, I agree with you, Chad, about the work sessions. I think more gets done in a work session than it does in a meeting, really.
I think so.
Unofficially. But anyways, I went to Bayshore City Council meeting last Wednesday night, and I also went to the Road and Bridge Christmas party, and they had a retirement party. They had someone retire after 32 probably years. And I'm glad they had getting a little break on the weather. Like I said, they get a little chance to catch up after the snow. Got nothing but good reports from everybody about the snow removal and what that department does when it snows. So I think we're very fortunate to have that crew. But I think that was about it. We had a short week, kind of, the holidays.
Yeah, I attended Lansing City Council meeting Thursday evening, so that was my,
Okay. Well,
We met with staff to select the engineering firm to oversee the
Right.
Millwood Bridge to keep it on schedule.
okay.
That would be an
That's-
agenda item for the full board to approve, obviously.
right. That was a good meeting.
Okay. And then I see we've got a lot of stuff to read through on bridge inspections. So.
Yeah, there'll be another committee meeting in January to review proposals for bridge inspection services, and then after that committee's, whatever that committee's recommendation is, will come back for the board for approval as well.
Hopefully, there's recommendation, there'll be no surprises after the bridge inspections are done where we have to close one.
I don't think any of those firms will be willing to commit to that, but we are changing some of our processes to maybe help identify, I think, especially on the more heavily used routes. We're going to use,
Ones that would cause a great detour to go around. Some of them, if they close, you only got to go a mile either way, but some of them, like this one,
But if they-
16
But
miles.
if they close without a plan, it's a
Well,
big deal no matter where they're at.
I think when Benish was here, they identified some of the things that, some maybe alternative inspection methods that not everybody in the state doesn't require that we can do, and I think that's part of these proposals. that
Wasn't some of that like the infrared and?
Infrared,
Yeah.
it helps to identify the delamination
Sure.
that you can't see from just looking at it. And
And
the old process, and Chad, I don't know if you've ever seen this done or not, but they run a chain across the bridge, and they listen for different noise when the chain rattles across the bridge, and that is a process they've been using for probably 200 years. I
Yeah,
don't
sounds
know.
pretty high tech.
But it works.
But it works, it actually does. But the infrared obviously is a little, will show us a little better detail on that.
And my idea was more frequency on the more important bridges, instead of
Right.
once every 2 years, maybe every
Yeah.
6 months or something.
So
maybe
has
that would
anybody been
help.
rattling your chain on that bridge?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Ear to the ground.
Are you yanking his chain?
Just saying, like I said, we got 145
But
bridges. If
Yeah.
this happens, we can't have this happen too many times.
Yeah, let's hope not.
So, anyways, so you have anything?
That's about it.
Okay. All right, then a motion to adjourn.